Well, good evening, everyone. I wasn't sure we were going to have a meeting in June, but hey, somehow we pulled it off with the help of Jim Giacchetta from Vidovation, who has been with us before. Jim, you might recall a few years ago, we did a meeting up at WGBH about COPS, which is the going live from what's going on the street in different cities all at once. It was absolutely amazing. I can't remember all of it, but the technology was really something. Well, he's back with us tonight to talk about remote controlling cameras, shading, adjusting colors, making adjustments. Let's say you've got three cameras out in on a boat, or you got them, you got them all over the place, strange places, and of course, maybe the sun has gone behind a cloud or something. All of a sudden, you got a blue picture, and really no practical way to adjust it live because it's not on multi-core, it's not on Tri-X, it's not on fiber. Going back to a nice CCU in your van, your OB van, or your studio. So it can be adjusted really from anywhere in the world. So this is going to be very interesting tonight. And Jim is the CTO and co-founder of Vidovation, and really has always comes up with some really, really interesting material. So I'm going to shut up and turn the evening over to Jim, and I will have my ears on. There you go, Jim. Take it away.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks for that great introduction. I was on the road week before last, and I had a missed phone call. I get to the airport, I missed phone call. Hey, Marty's calling me. Oh, Marty needs something, and I think someone had canceled. So I appreciate the invitation to pinch hit to fill in an open slot. So uh, this is one, camera shading. We're a systems integrator, distributor, design consultants, and this is like one of the hottest categories right now. We get asked about shading, and so many productions nowadays want a cinematic look. And a red camera, cinema camera is typically not set up for a live broadcast workflow. So, there's numbers of different ways of converting that. You could take a multi-dyne fiber back and convert the cinematic hooks to live SDI, live broadcast. But even with a multi-dyne setup, configuration, the shading of the camera can be a challenge. So we're going to take a deep dive into all the aspects of shading cameras these days, and some of the pitfalls that we fall into. So I've done a little video engineering myself, not on a professional basis, as a volunteer at Saddleback Church, and they were a Sony shop back in the day. Now they've gone to Red and do cinematic. But when I served over there, these were all Sony controllers, joystick. You could push in to change what I was looking at on my quality control or on my preview monitor. But you typically have one controller for each camera. So if you have an 8-camera production, there's 8 of these control CCU devices built into the desk. And Sony, Panasonic, whoever's cameras you're using, they love that you need to buy 8 of these. So 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you were doing a production, all your cameras matched. They were all probably from the same vendor, maybe slightly different model numbers, handheld, camera on sticks, different lenses, different things. But predominantly, your studio, your production was all Panasonic, was all Sony, was all Ikegami, etc. Nowadays, we are asked by our producers to use specialty cameras, PTZ cameras, camcorders, cinema cameras, We need to be wireless. We need to be remote. During COVID, we weren't allowed in the studio or we weren't allowed on the golf course. We had to work remotely. So you have all these varieties of cameras, all this variety of different types of events, indoors, outdoors, racing, corporate, etc. Then not only do we have a challenge controlling all these different types of camera, different types of technology, how do we shape them? How do we color match them? So we're going to get into all of that. So, nothing wrong with your old school Sony CCU controller. It worked in certain applications. That's the right way to go. Then here in the middle was how people kind of kludge things together using different boxes, color correctors, different controllers and whatnot. One box didn't quite talk to another box. And this is Marty here stuck in the rack here. He's dead back there. He's trying to trace out a camera control cable. Those shoes look familiar, Marty. Is that you? Here's a shot of a high-profile production, and you can see, two slightly different camera angles, different cameras. Not you can see the color balance. The red is not the red is muted here. Red's got more blue in it over here. The red here has got more pop to it. And if you really care about your production, you're cutting from a broadcast camera to a cinematic camera to a GoPro. How are you going to get all that technology to match? How are you going to control iris, your pedestal, your iris, your color balance, your white balance on all those cameras? So, Vinovation, we represent a company by the name of CyanView. Now, we're not supposed to be a commercial, so I'll be bipartisan as much as I can. We also represent another company called Skarhoy, very similar to CyanView. So Skarhoy, CyanView are kind of the industry leaders in this area of camera control. A lot of similarities. I have more experience with CyanView. We sell more CyanView. But you can see here, here's your eclectic. These look like some little Marshall cameras, some little lipstick cameras, robotic cameras, PTZ, wired, wireless, slow motion cameras, drones, then various brands of color correctors. You guys know I use a $400 GoPro camera. I don't have hooks to color balance a GoPro. Maybe there's some hue or tint adjustment, but I don't have, hooks like red, green, and blue hooks to really fine tune that. So you need a external color corrector to possibly get these inexpensive cameras to match your broadcast or match your cinema cameras. Then there's this is like the higher tier, the specialty cameras. Then we got your typical production cameras, camcorders, ENG, cinema cameras, Blackmagic cameras, you name it. Mention Blackmagic kind of separately because they have some unique ways in how they control their ecosystem, and I'll get into that. But you can see here in these photos, you see the controllers, multiple RCPs. This looks like there's I can see 2 CyanView controllers here and 4. Those look like Sony's or Panasonic's. I'm not sure. I think those are Sony's. So you can mix and match, but you can eliminate that. One of the nice things too about CyanView, you could have one CyanView RCP control 2, 4, 8, or an unlimited number of cameras. They license it accordingly. So if you don't have the budget to get a unit that does unlimited, you can buy the 2, the 4, the 8, and they have very fancy names: the Duo, the Octo, the Quattro, and I don't have a French word for unlimited, so it's just unlimited, unlimited. I don't know. So you see now this operator here. You see there's 4 CyanViews. So the operator probably wants to jump quickly from camera to camera. these little blue little buttons you see on the RCP, you can program these around the display. But if you're controlling multiple cameras, or you can scroll left and right, if I have 50 cameras hooked to this device and I need to control camera 49, I'm like 1, 2, 3 over 49 times. Okay, now let me shade it. The shot's already lost. So the device is able to control up to an unlimited number of cameras, but we have ways around that. You know, you could have hook into your switcher. So with your left hand, you're picking the camera you want to control, and then your right hand, you're shading. I'll get more into that. But so you can see this eclectic mess. Mini cameras, PTZ, robotic, color correction, camera matching, cinema, remote production, camcorders. Had a major sports. Now we can't help in all situations. Let's talk about the limitations. So, got a major league sport baseball team using some new DJI camera. The guys that make drones. Pretty cool specs. It's got a decent sensor on it. It's locked. The vendor does not allow remote control, or they're going to come out with their own controller at some point, or you got to use the computer. So CyanView, unbeknownst to the customer, they just assumed it would work. And CyanView does not put a part number, a SKU on their website unless they've actually tested it. You don't get this thing like, well, it should work in theory, or according to the data. If the data sheet is true, it should work. No. They get one and they test it. So they tried to get into this DJI camera, and the thing was locked down. They said, unless we start, unsoldering circuit boards, we're never going to control this thing. So there are limitations. And you ask Vidovation, you ask the vendor, you ask CyanView, you ask Scarhoy, hey, do you guys have hooks into this camera? So, if you want to shade a camera, you may want to pick your camera according to what is controllable by CyanView or Scarhoy. So here, this is a nice kind of little workflow. If a camera has a LAN connection, the RCP can go right into the camera. But most cameras that are out there, it's some form of serial. 232, 422, 485, Sony Lank, Canon, S-Bus, you name it. There's others out there. And if you're on a wired network, everything's PoE, including the RCP. The RCP does come with a power supply if you don't have PoE, and the little serial to Ethernet little adapters, the CIO, have a DTAP. So if you don't have PoE at the camera, you can steal power from DTAP, assuming your rig has a DTAP port on it. Now, one confusing thing, and I don't know, I got to talk to David, the CEO of CyanView. This is a CIO. We say CIO. It's actually CI0. There is another product called an RIO, which is a real O. So are we CI0 or CIO? I don't know. Maybe they're just getting a little too clever with their part number. So you want to make that we call it a CIO, but it's really a CI0. And you can see we can hook to any of these cameras. And, in theory, a new camera comes out if it's spitting out RS-232, assuming there's not some weird telemetry or some weird commands. In theory, CyanView can write drivers for virtually any camera that comes out, assuming it's not locked down like this DJI camera. So here's the slide showing, you don't need the CIO if there is a LAN connection. You can directly connect to your PTZ or your LAN enabled camera. So here's a typical workflow. 4 cameras. You could have 4 RCPs. I mean, that's up to your budget. CyanView makes two models, one with a white and a black knob, and they make a joystick model, more of a Sony style. So, pushing it forward opens the iris, pulling it back closes it, and then you spin for your pedestal, like on a Sony. This joystick model does cost more. So depending upon how finicky your video engineer is, if he demands getting a joystick, there is a joystick option. These are the knob models, but you can see they're kind of grayed out because you don't need four. You could have four, so you can jump quickly from camera to camera to camera. Or you see the little router up here, so I could have one hand on the router while I'm shading with my right hand, picking different cameras that way to save on the cost of having four RCPs. Then you can see here color correctors. They hook into different brands of color correctors, whether it's AJA. They also make their own color corrector. Now, this is very cool. Customers like this. So Stream Deck makes these. They're for gamers. It's they make like an 8, a 16, and a 32 button. They're like $99. And you can program the icon on each button. So you could just make an icon that says camera 1, or if camera 1 is golf, you could have a green. So you have different color codes. There you go. Look at that. I got a producer helping me here. I didn't do that. Thanks, guys. So that, and it just hooks into the USB port, and the CyanView has the hooks for it. So now with my left hand, I can pick up the 32 cameras with a push of a button. I don't have to scroll through the RCP menu to find the camera. So it's a very low cost way to pick your camera, have a single RCP. And you can see here, we have two cameras that are serial and one that's Ethernet, and we mix and match. The little CI0, the CIO goes in between to convert from serial to IP, and everything is plug and play. All of these devices have a unique URL on the back that has the last 4 digits of their serial number. So you punch that in, you plug it into your network, assuming you have the HCP enabled. You plug it into your network, you go to a browser on that VLAN, punch in that URL, bam, I'm in the CIO, and it tells me, hey, you're hooked to a Sony, blah, blah, blah. You're connected to this RCP. So you see all your assets on the network. The RCP has a GUI interface where you can see all the assets. Everything is self-aware. So all the cameras, all the devices, all plug and play and find each other. It's very, very user-friendly. So then the RIO. Now, see, the O is not a 0. So the way to remember the R is for remote or for REMI. So basically an RIO and a CI0 are the same, except the RIO has wireless capability, remote capability. So the CIO would be if you have a LAN. So if you're running a LAN connection to all your cameras are on sticks, or they're physically mounted somewhere that I can run a LAN connection to them, or run a LAN connection to the CI0, then the CI0 does the serial connection to the camera. So you can see here R, and this antenna on the left is for Wi-Fi. So we can bridge or reach the RCP via Wi-Fi. So the RCP is on our wired network, powered via PoE. As long as the VLAN of the Wi-Fi is routed to the VLAN of the RCP, everything talks to each other. Again, all plug and play. Then this little stick sticking up is a cellular modem. They support. It's an AT&T stick modem. I can forward that. I don't have the exact model number, but it is on the Vidovation website. It is on the CyanView website. But you're limited to only one connection. It's not a bonded connection. The other nice thing too is when you're hooked to the RIO, if you allow it, I mean, you can firewall things if you don't want assets talking to the outside world. But if everything is open, a Wi-Fi connection or the cellular connection, it will reach the CyanView relay, and that helps the plug and play capability. RCP is connected to the cloud. The Rio is connected to the cloud. Oh, we're trying to find each other. They'll meet in the cloud and form a connection that way. So it also helps with CyanView with remote troubleshooting. They'll be like, okay, I don't see your asset in the cloud. Do you have it plugged in? Is PoE there? Okay, now I see it. It popped up. Okay, let me help you with your route, and they'll help you with the connection. You can see here, this looks like the older version of the high vision bonded cellular. This looks like it might be a DeGero live view at the bottom. All, as far as I know, DeGero, TVU, live view, high vision, they all have some form of a data bridge, or for lack of a better description, a VPN connection from the bonded cellular unit in the field to the studio. And, typically the connection is a couple hundred kilobits, something like that, which is more than enough for camera control. And the Rio, the RIO, can take advantage. So instead of using the Wi-Fi or an external USB stick, you connect to the LAN port on your bonded cellular, and then that LAN port is routed back to the studio. And then now that connection is a bonded cellular connection. This is a single modem, so you're not getting a bond. If you're in an AT&T dead spot, you're going to lose shading for a moment. Whereas if you're bonding, now, if I'm hooking this to the LAN port on my bonded cellular, you told me, Jim, the CIO is a serial to IP converter. Why can't I use one of those? Well, I'll tell you why. So on a network like this, the latency between the camera and the CCU is single digits in milliseconds, 2, 3, 4 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, right? Over here, I'm going the wrong way. Here we go. Over cellular, we could have 100, 150 milliseconds. And a lot of cameras and a lot of RCPs or CCUs, they don't expect the latency and they go crazy. The latency is too great. Sony will just open the shutter, close the shutter, or if it loses control, it just does unpredictable things. And every camera is different. Some are more tolerant, some go more crazy. And so the RIO actually has a phantom RCP built in. So it keeps the camera calm. So if this Sony, Panasonic, whatever camera this is, can't tolerate the latency across that VPN, the 150 milliseconds, this local phantom RCP built into the RIO keeps the Sony calm. Hey, what's my iris saying? Hey, bro, it hasn't changed. Now, even if it has changed or this connection has broken for milliseconds or seconds, it'll just keep the last known iris setting and the last known pedestal to keep the camera calm, keep it cool. So this RIO is actually constantly communicating back and forth with the RCP. Has there been a change? Has there been a change? Is there any update for me? Is there any update for me? So that's chatting across the network, not the camera. Camera's happy over here because this RIO. So the RIO smooths out the bumps. So if you're on a network with a lot of latency, or you're VPN, you got a beauty shot you're pulling in from across town, you got double digit latency. Certainly if you're pulling over the public internet, cellular, even Wi-Fi in your facility. The CI0, the CIO does not have Wi-Fi built in, not Wi-Fi capable. So if I want to go over Wi-Fi, and as we all know, Wi-Fi can be choppy, So any kind of, so one of the questions I ask customers, I have like 6 questions I ask. So I'll ask, how many cameras are you controlling? Give me the model number and the manufacturer of every camera. Give me the lens and the model number and the manufacturer of the lens you're using. Are you using any lenses that have external motors or servos, which is very common in cinema cinematic lenses. You use like a Tilta or something like that to control iris and focus and zoom, things like that. And Cyan View is compatible with a lot of that. And again, not everything, but I would say about 95% of what's out there they have hooks for. I'm surprised when they don't, but customers pull weird things like this DJI camera out of thin air, and unless DJI opens things up, or it's not supportable. So you can see over here, this is so this was kind of a cellular. This is just a WAN. So like I think in Washington D.C., I have customers. They'll do beauty shots of the Capitol. Bumper shot. Fade in, fade out from commercial. They're talking about politics. So they have a bumper shot of the White House, bumper shot of the Capitol. So somebody's got a PTZ on a rooftop somewhere that they're pulling in video and controlling over WAN, not necessarily cellular, a wide area network that has more latency or public internet. So if there's internet or high latency, you want the RIO. This connection, in this example, the latency must be low enough where the CIO is working. We're close enough to it, but if in doubt, I like using the RIO. So here's a little bit of a closer view. The NIO is a network interface. This is a way of bringing GPI in and out. So if something, we'll use it a lot if a customer is using a routing switcher that's not supported. So if the routing switcher has GPI hooks for tally, we can bring those tally interfaces, convert the GPIO into Ethernet using this NIO. So this is like a little, and you can see the little push down little wire connections. That's to get your telemetry in and out of the NIO. And then this is the RCP. So you can see here, black here on the left, iris or white on the right. And then I hope I have a slide of the joystick model. If not, I'll pull one up. So yeah, so here's like another application. So remote production. This looks like a Sony camera. Yep. So RIOs on here. You need, as we all know, the Sony has what is it, a 9-pin remote connector, that Rojas connector. Cyan View sells all the cables that you'll need. If they support the camera, they got the cable to hook to the camera. So they sell two different lengths of Sony camera cable. So the remote serial port will connect to one of the serial ports on the bottom of the RIO, and there's a quarter 20 on the back side of it is a quarter 20 connection. So a lot of customers will mount it on the hot shoe, with a accessory shoe, little adapter, to quarter 20. Or if you're on a smaller camera that doesn't have any quarter 20 threads in it, or doesn't have an accessory shoe, the thing weighs 8 ounces. It's just Velcro it to the side. Velcro works. So again, here's all our crazy, different eclectic types of cameras. Wired. If you're worried, if you're a rental house, right, and you don't want to have to stock CIOs and RIOs, if you're going to have to pick one, go with the RIO, because it can tolerate the latency. It's got the Phantom RCP built in. So you can go over LAN, you can go over Wi-Fi, you can go over cellular, go through the relay, and then go through cellular. These are all the different methods of hooking up. Here's a little bit of a closer view. It shows you the camera status. So you see there's like a left and right button right here. And you can see what IP it's grabbed. So you just, with one or two finger clicks, you're like, oh, I need a computer. No, you can see what IP it grabs. So if you are having trouble communicating with it, you can see, it's like, okay, in my control room, can I ping that CIO? Can I ping that RIO? Well, what IP is it? You can see it from the front panel, which is great. And then you see there's 3 ports. One is power, and the other 2 are for accessories. So one could be for a lens, and one could be to control a camera body. If the lens is controlled through the camera, you could actually hook 2 cameras to one RIO if they're in close proximity. So you're out in the field, you got 2 cameras relatively close on sticks. You could have one RIO control 2 of those. And then you can see there's if the camera does not have a tally light, some camera manufacturers lock the tally light, so CyanView is not able to control it. Some manufacturers in their infinite wisdom will let you shade and adjust pedestal and color balance, but we're not going to let you control that tally light. Oversight, done on purpose, done by accident. So if you put this device on the accessory shoe on the top, these are pretty bright. You can see them. Another approach is CyanView makes a external tally. See these USB expansion ports. You're limited to 2 ports here, but if you wanted to control other things, so say the camera has a LAN port, but I want to control my lens via port 1 or 2, I could put an Ethernet to USB adapter on here to gain back a LAN connection. So it's very cool. It's very, these guys wrote drivers for everything. It's pretty, they're a Belgian company, but it's really a Swiss Army knife of camera control. These guys have thought of it all. So you can see here, typical application. So tally light is lit. It passes the tally to the viewfinder, assuming that's a function on the camera. So this port number 1 is connected to the camera, and then you could have an external tally signal. You could pull a 12-volt signal off of here if you had other bigger tally lights on a bigger camera on sticks. We could use this as the telemetry or the TTL or the 12-volt or GPIO to trigger some other tally type of device. And then here, you know, the dongles and accessories, that NIO that was in the other slide, you see here with an adapter cable, we can bring in and out up to 8 GPIOs via dongle. They do support some routing switchers. So if you go to cyanview.com, click the support button, you get to support.cyanview.com, or just go to support.cyanview.com. So if you want to figure out, does my routing switcher and my Sony FX3, are they CyanView compatible? You go in there, punch in Sony FX3, it'll give you, it's basically a 10,000 page manual, but all web-based. So everything is cross-connected, cross-indexed. There's a table of contents. But you go in the search engine and you put your switcher manufacturer in there and your camera, and it'll tell you what cable you need. Does it work with the CIO or the RIO? And then if there's limitations, like so Sony FX3, you can shade it and do color balance and iris, but you can't turn the tally light on and off. FX9, you can do all the above and control the tally light. So if there are limitations, it's all very well documented. So it eliminates surprises potentially. And then, you know, latency is pretty low. Latency through their cloud is low, but, you know, we're at the mercy of the cellular networks. You know, they got this little note if you're going overseas. I mean, we've had customers shade cameras 4,000 miles. Now, you're not riding iris on a golf ball flying through the air or going through the sun because if you're going, I mentioned, you know, the data bridge having 100, 150 millisecond latency for shading. But if your video is coming over bonded cellular, that'll have anywhere from a half a second to several seconds of latency. And if you're running that, you're going to overcompensate. So, you know, you have to realize the video I'm looking at right now is already a second old. I missed the boat. Well, it looks overexposed, or you see a flash of light, you're not going to catch that. So you just kind of, Marty said, you're changing for time of day. So in the morning, the sun's hitting, getting in the camera, you ratchet it down. Midday, afternoon, you got some shadows. You might want to open it up a little bit. So you're not shading in real time. So, as with anything, you got to realize the limitations of the technology. Now, if we're using some ultra low latency Makitos and we have a really good Metro Ethernet connection or a very good internet connection with low double digit latency, then we could be getting aggressive with the control. So I always tell my customers, you want to rehearse. Don't try shading over 3,000 miles away cold. Yeah, you want to have a dress rehearsal for this. So this is just some more slides. This is getting a little redundant here. I got a lot of slides here, but you see we can mix and match. Rio controlling a PTZ, Rio controlling a fixed camera. We did Vidovation, AviWest, High Vision, and CyanView. We were involved in the first professional sporting event to occur during the lockdown. So I think it was like May or June of 2020. Look, May 15th. Sports Video Group. We get a story in May 2020. Yeah, so it was probably a little bit before that. So they did a skins tournament, and we used 6 Rios, Sony cameras. They had some Marshall cameras, so you see that for some beauty shots. 2 RCPs. Maybe they had one operator locally on site and one remote as a backup. That's a common thing too. It's like, well, what if Bobby passes out in the studio? We got Johnny in Studio B take over. Now, obviously, if they start controlling the same camera, they're going to be fighting each other. But you can have another a CyanView RCP hooked up on standby to take over, or you could divide the workload. So Marty, you handle the cameras 1 through 10. Paul, you handle 11 through 20, something like that, and you can divide the workload. So, and again, this is, we work with High Vision, TVU, Live View. If they have that data bridge capability, we can bring the telemetry through. Customers do this all day long. Again, matching. It's if the field looks yellow on one camera shot, the average person may not notice, but all you guys will notice, or your boss will notice. So really getting things shaded properly can be important. Running PTZ cameras. The video out would go through the bonded cellular, but the control, the PTZ, the pan tilt zoom, that goes through the CyanView path, through the data bridge path. And there's some third-party controllers that CyanView is compatible with, and inexpensive stuff. This little controller, I think I saw it on Amazon for $79. It's mentioned on their website, and this generic controller through CyanView is compatible with a myriad of PTZ and robotic cameras that are out there. So you don't need a specialized robotic camera on site. Bring it through CyanView with a generic RCP. You can have hooks to your exotic camera. So it really can simplify the workflow and save costs in a lot of cases. They're just showing you examples here. This was another project. Got cameras in the studio, or cameras on sticks, cameras on motorbikes, aerial cameras on helicopters or drones. How do we control all of that? Not that long ago, let's put Bobby on the drone. So you had to have an operator controlling just that. because it was not on a compatible system. Now all your cameras are in your workflow. Everything can be controlled from the same controller. Just some more examples, different types of racing, motor racing. What I want to get to is you can see here, you can daisy chain cameras. You know, if a camera is already LAN enabled, just hook it directly to the RCP. But you want to make sure if you go on the CyanView website, they'll tell you, yes, we can shade and adjust pedestal via LAN, but if there's any disclaimers like you can't control the tally, they'll tell you. There's little check boxes. You know, they'll do like a little chart. You know, here's a list of all the Sony cameras. Tally, check, not. You know, no X. You know, for different model numbers. You know, iris, yes. Black, yes. Color balance, no, yes. Yeah. So it's very comprehensive, very thorough. Their support website is excellent. Again, this is like, you know, you guys can imagine, the sky's the limit. We can mix and match CIOs, and RIOs, different controllers, different RCPs, different configurations. Bringing in GPI, you know, if the camera itself has GPI ins and outs for tally, we can bring that in via the Rio, etc. Just to give you some ideas. So, you know, here we are, we're mixing a shoulder camera that's got Lank, a studio camera, and a PTZ. 10 years ago, that would have been nuts. Now, who's going to do that? Now it's commonplace. So let me just keep going here. I don't want to be too redundant. But you can see, you know, each slide, you know, this looks like Sony again, Canon, you know, Canon lenses. So here's a serial ENG lens that can be put on the camera. The CIO and the RIO can control that. Different Canon camcorders. Blackmagic routing switchers. So a lot of Blackmagic. Well, I'll get to it. Blackmagic cameras. I don't know if some of you guys may know this. You're familiar with Blackmagic. You can control via SDI. They put telemetry, or they pass telemetry to and from the camera on the SDI spigot. So when you take the SDI out of an Ursa or Blackmagic camera, put it into an ATEM routing switcher, Blackmagic ATEM routing switcher, so it knows which one you're picking for program, it'll light the tally. It sends telemetry back over the coax. So how do we bridge that coax telemetry into the IP world if we want to go through the internet or cellular or Wi-Fi? So this BM device, you can buy a Rio that has this BM built in, or you can buy this extra piece by itself. So this is the bridge between RS-232 and the SDI telemetry on a Blackmagic. So there's a device for that. And you can see here, you can go over Wi-Fi, go over cellular. Let's see here, what else we got? Yeah, so then here, external tally. I kind of touched on this. You can buy a little LED or a little box that has a tally light, you know, bright tally light built into it. You can buy it from CyanView. So if the camera does not allow us to turn the tally light on and off for some reason, it's locked out to the outside world, it's not part of the API, we can put an external light if the built-in light is not big. The built-in light on the CIO and the RIO are not big enough. Some clients will mount the camera to the CIO or the RIO because there's quarter 20 threads on it. So this little IO Industries camera's got a quarter 20 on the bottom. So you mount the camera to the CIO, then mount the CIO to a tripod or an arm of some sort. So these guys really thought of it all. So you can just, you know, marry the two devices together. Then here on the right, you know, tally ingest. How do we bring tally into the ecosystem from our routing switcher? So again, I mentioned the NIO, bringing in and out 16 GPIOs. You can see there's a dongle for the RCP for 8. You need to add 16 more. You do the NI0, the NIO. Tally over IP, you can bring that telemetry in. The TSL protocol can come in over IP, but you can bring that in. So, and then how do I route my GPI and tally signals? You know, what camera am I controlling? So you can see your CIO, your RCPs here. You see the GPI and you see your camera. So with this grid, you can program what is controlling what. It helps you program your tally. And then you can bring up this dashboard, which brings up this big grid. So if you have it is a good idea. You don't need a computer to run this, but it is a good idea, at least when you're setting it up, to have a computer so you can get into the dashboard of the RCP. The RCP ends up being the brain of everything. So this GUI interface, this web interface, all is generated by the RCP. Again, just showing us that, you know, we can get the tally, different configurations, different cellular, wireless, Wi-Fi, cellular. Don't want to be too redundant. The PGA does this all day long. We can control, you know, if your RCP is set up for an unlimited number of cameras, you could have an unlimited number of cameras out there over cellular being controlled with RIOs. This is like a Degero. This is like the High Vision Avi West. This is like the Degero. Again, it works with all the above. It's agnostic. So on a prior slide, I think I showed an AJA color corrector. So color corrector does, it takes the digital SDI signal, whether it's HD or 4K, and does color space manipulation of the video. So if you have a GoPro that you want to match to a broadcast camera, this gives you master red, green, and blue, pedestal, gamma settings, saturation settings. You know, we're artificially manipulating. There's a lot of digital processing going on, a lot of GPU going on. This device is small. It is a significant investment, but if you have low-cost cameras that you absolutely have to match, you could use this CyanView color corrector or an AJA or others that are out there. You can find out on support.cyanview.com what other color correctors are out there that they support. So you bring the SDIs in and they come out corrected. And you have hooks, red, green, blue, the different pedestals, the different amplitudes. You know, you could even be so bold as to chip chart everything. You know, chip chart your GoPro, chip chart your iPhone, chip chart your DSLR, chip chart your Blackmagic, and you could get the color balance spot on if you want to be so bold, if it's that important to you. And then the cameras that don't have color balance hooks in them, you use the color corrector to fix the color balance on those. And you just see here that, you know, the color corrector just sits in the workflow. So the SDI signals come in, they come through, and then you pass them off to the production switcher. And that's the way to balance it. And then, yeah, this is just showing you the AJA variant, their FS HDR. We are an AJA reseller. I do think the CyanView is a little bit more cost effective, but the AJA makes a good color corrector as well. And we have the hooks, and you can see here by adjusting the red and blue settings here, we are giving commands to the RCP. I'm sorry, the color corrector, how to adjust the picture. So it's all a seamless integration. And this is nice with the GUI. If one of these cameras was on the air, you'd see red. That it's live. Um, you can see here this shot looks like some things are not quite set up because it's not controlled. So that this hasn't been finished being set up in that picture. They make an adapter panel to hit in to fit. So the CyanView RCP fits in a typical video engineer's desk. You can see the screw to plop in the desk so it can be mounted next to other RCPs that might be in your desk. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, video router. Just showing you here how you can combine color correction with your video with your production routing. So just pass it through. It's pretty straightforward. Oh, going the wrong direction. Yeah, let's see. No, am I going backwards? I am going backwards. So here we go. This is what I want to touch on. Yeah, so you can see you can buy the CIO or the RIO with the Blackmagic capability. You can see they're more integrated. This is not separatable. It's one piece. You can see here it's kind of broken in two. It's a matter of preference. If you want the Blackmagic to get in and out of the serial that's embedded in the SDI or sent on the coax with the SDI, that's a good choice. And you can see it's a little fatter. So we got two different types of what is this? This is probably like the Ursa Mini. This is probably the bigger Blackmagic camera. Again, we can bridge. We want to control these over IP as well as some other cameras. We just use there's a dash BM on the end of the part number for Blackmagic. Here it is, just kind of broken apart if you prefer. But if you're a rental house, right, you don't want the BM stuck on your CIO if somebody's not using Blackmagic, so you might want to rent them separately. So either way, you can do it as one or do it as two pieces. Same thing with the Rio. If we're going over an unmanaged connection, Wi-Fi cellular, convert to and from 232 to the SDI protocol of Blackmagic, and we're off to the races. Let's see. Yeah, so when you connect to the Blackmagic switcher, the control is managed by the ATEM Blackmagic controller. So again, it's just kind of showing you we can control this way or control through the CyanView ecosystem this way. So we have different choices. So this is just, specialty cameras. These just happen to be Dream chip. If you put an RS-485 dongle on here, you save the cost of the CI0. See, I always see that. It's kind of like these guys are shooting themselves in the foot. But, RS-485 has a decent distance it can go, but it does have a distance limitation. So if you're relatively close, this can work. If you're too far away, you just put the CIO to convert from serial to LAN, and now you can go thousands of feet. Yeah, this is just showing an encoder. I'm not sure what's. Yeah, it's just. Oh, I see. The encoder is controlling these cameras. Oh, I think this is an encoder made by Dream Chip. Now that I think about it, so the encoder is passing telemetry through the encoder decoder. So you need the CIO say, hey, it's on the wrong side. Why isn't that over here? So the telemetry is coming in and out of the decoder, so we can have the CIO on the studio side. Just, I don't want to bore you with it. This deck is 105 slides. So I think CyanView has every iteration that they've ever done in here. Again, this is showing that inexpensive PTZ joystick. to control this gimbalized camera here. I mean, you guys get the idea. It really is a Swiss Army knife. It can control anything. Um, uh, we can pass EVS. So Dream Chip makes a slow motion camera. So in slow motion, you guys are probably familiar with this. You got to set a trigger. You got to trigger it. So a goal is scored. You press a trigger, and you have your setup that it's recording the last 30 seconds continuously. So when you hit the trigger, you freeze it, you stop it. So now you've stopped the goal, the ball is in the net, the pocky puck is in the net. Hit the trigger. Now you've frozen that last 30 seconds in your camera memory. So now you can play it back out at regular speed to hence get that, you recorded at high motion, play back at regular speed. Then you get the slow motion effect because you recorded it fast, you're playing it back slow or playing it back normal. So these triggers need to reach the camera. So again, the CIO with the Dream Chip and with EVS compatibility passes those triggers, those telemetries. Again, this low-cost little shuttle device that you can buy on Amazon for $39 and the Stream Deck little push button switches can come in and out with the NIO or come in through the RCP. Either way, so you have one operator controlling over here, another operator over here, again controlling the slow motion. So again, I'm not going to bore you with every possible configuration, but this is a nice shot. So it shows you the CIO. It has quarter 20 connection on the bottom to put on a tripod or a mount, and then it's got a quarter 20 on the top to put these tiny little cameras so you can sandwich them together on a tripod to make your life easier. Let's see, find something else unique in here. I want to find a picture of the joystick model. If not, I can bring that up. Here's a little Marshall camera. We're going over cellular. We're doing RS-485 to land, then hitting the cellular device. The telemetry comes through the bonded. The SDI video comes through the bonded. It all gets back to master control. You can see here that there's the camera mounting on the unit. Yeah, here it is. So the CIO mounts on the tripod. The camera mounts on the CIO. And then this is the cable that's compatible with this particular part number of Marshall camera. So if you punched in CV506 on the CyanView website, it would have told you which cable it is you need to buy. It's very cool, very thorough. Here's some just different cabling options. They even have some breakout cables. If you have some unique powering situation. See, the camera needs it's got a screw down terminal to bring power in. There's no plug for it. So this cable has a positive and a negative a power and a ground connection to come into the back of the camera. These guys, those of you guys that like making custom cables, this might ruin your day. These guys really have a cable for pretty much everything you're going to need. Just some more beauty shots. So the IOI, they make a nice camera. They're a Canadian company. Again, I don't want to be too redundant here. Let's see here. I'm looking for the joystick. Yeah, so I think we showed this slide before. You got the 2 ports on the Rio. The CIO is similar. It's got 2 ports plus power and a LAN. The CIO does also have the USB accessory ports, so you can plug other accessories in there. SDI, Wi-Fi, little dongles can be plugged in there. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. So I got to the end. Let me see here. I do want to show you guys a photo of the CIO. Let me stop sharing for a second and go find it. Yeah, so you guys have any questions?
I'd like to jump in with a question, Jim.
Sure.
So a lot of the big manufacturers on the larger cameras that are used either with an OB van or in the studio for that matter. So they're all pretty much fiber now uh, to the CCU. And then the CCU can be attached via RG45 connectors to a switch, an Ethernet switch, and one RCP unit can be attached to the switch. And you can switch and adjust all the cameras, not at the same time, but you can adjust all of the cameras using that one RCP, which is a money saver, basically. It'd be nice to have one for each camera, for each CCU. But if you can't, all the CCUs are attached to that switch and the RCPs attached to it. And you can go from one camera to the next and make all your changes. Can you connect the system to that? Would that be the CIO possibly, or?
I know CyanView was working on interoperability. It does kind of cannibalize the need for the product, but there was talk of interoperability, particularly for Sony, that someone could get in and out of the ecosystem with a Sony controller. Maybe the answer for that was making the joystick model. But you're right, Marty. So like we sell my dad started Multidyne. My brother Frank runs Multidyne, and they make camera backs for a lot of cinematic cameras, a lot of cameras that are out there. And the RCP camera control a lot of times is coming over fiber. Or if you're using the manufacturer's fiber, Sony fiber, Red now has, I think, a Komodo Dragon. Multidyne used to make the camera back for it. They kind of made a version of their own, doing just that, bringing fiber back. So those vendor-specific fiber solutions, you would hope they'd had RCP and shading passing through it. Multidyne sometimes when they do it, if the camera's exotic, they'll need a CyanView adapter or a Scarhoy adapter to get into a LAN connection on the fiber unit. And the fiber unit brings all the signals, intercom, multiple channels of video, back, return video, all back to the control room, and then converting back to Sony protocol, or using Scarhoy or CyanView controllers to then control it. So I did that sort of answer your question, Marty? I'm not sure if I did answer it.
Well, sort of. Needs a little more investigation. But
Yeah, really, what I recommend is, hey, this is what I wanted to show you guys, is the RCP. So you can see it's full height. So it actually now is with the RCP, with the joystick, fits in the desk full height. So you don't need the adapter bracket anymore. And you can see you can turn it to do your blacks, and you can push it forward and back to open and close your iris. And all these buttons, they're unlabeled because they're programmable. And then you can even have hooks, things written here on the display that pertain to these buttons. But it is a good idea to have a computer open so you can see the whole picture of what's going on in your workflow. So you're saying, Marty, that I mean, you saw in some of the photos I shared, you could see Sony and Panasonic RCPs next to the Cyan views. So if there's no way, if an operator really insists on, my four primary cameras, I want to use my Sony RCPs, leave that alone. You can chip chart those, and then your exotic cameras then are on the Cyan view,
Mm.
on the Cyan view RCP, and they all fit in the desk together. You either put them on top of the desk, or if you have the desk with the cutout. Uh, so it's not uncommon to mix and match. Uh, what some operators like, or what some production companies like, is they don't have to buy. They get 8 Sony cameras. They don't have to buy 8 RCPs to go with it, 8 CCUs. The cost adds up. So they could use the CIO or the RIO to get in and to get the Sony camera to land, and then use something like this, use the Cyan View RCP, which is a lot less expensive. A Duo, I think, starts at $3,200.
Hmm.
Uh, it's very affordable. Let me see. There were some questions. Let me see in the chat. I wasn't paying attention. Let's see.
There was one from Patrick on sports coverage remotely, I noticed.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so
I
P
actually asked a whole bunch of questions. So,
yeah,
I,
yeah. So
yeah.
so so PGA, I kind of touched on that a little bit. So uh they're not shading every shot, you know, uh, you know, like in any sport, baseball, soccer, you're tracking a ball typically. So if you're tracking a golf ball and it goes through the sun, or the player's hitting in the shadows, and now the ball has landed in the light. uh you have bonded cellular. We can go down to half a second, but network conditions, as there's more 5G uh, uh, prevalent, we may be able to get down to that half second, quarter second latency. Even a quarter second, do you want to be shading in real time quarter second? You're going to overshoot it. You're going to be, so it's more of the PGA will once an hour, once a half an hour, or they know the fairway on hole 9 is dark, so they hit their iris while they're in the tee box, and then when they get to the well lit part of the fairway, they'll hit it again. But you're not you know running. Same thing with PTZ camera. If you're doing PTZ control through bonded cellular with 150 millisecond latency, that's just for the control. Then you got to add the half a second to a second. So so now you got a second and a quarter, more than a second latency between control and the video coming at you. A lot of our customers will do presets, so they know where their beauty shots will be with the PTZ. If the talent is not moving, you make subtle move adjustments. Paint slowly, because somebody might move out of frame suddenly. You don't want to be abrupt, so you want to. I don't know if you guys remember when bonded cellular first came out, it was 20-second latency. So they'll be like, okay, Bobby, we're going to come to you in Central Park on a 20 count, 20, 19, 18. They would count it down, because his video would take 20 seconds to come in. Okay, now talk, 3, 2, now start talking, because it took that long for the video. Or no, they would count them in 20 seconds early. I'm doing it backwards. So they're on the comms with the guy in the field. Okay, we're at 25 seconds. I'm gonna give you a countdown. So it's 20, 25, 24, 23, 21. Start. So he's speaking, his video's coming in, and now it's in sync with the show. Now we come to Bobby, who's out in Central Park, and you try to time it. I'm exaggerating that. It's not that bad now, but that's how it used to be. And it took operators and directors and TDs a little bit to think about this. So it's like, we'll have Bobby in 20 seconds. It's like, start 3, 2, 1, go. And it's like, well, the weather today. And they, oh, speaking of which, so we're going to do a weather report from Central Park. So we have Bob on the line. She's like, hello, Nan. He says, hello, Debbie. Now, if they switched anchors in the script, he's saying hello to the wrong person. But hey, all these the bonded slate has return video, so he could be watching program. Again, he might have a half a second to a second latency, so he needs to, okay, we're getting close. All right, it looks like we're a second out. Boom. High Vision and Cyan View have gotten really good now at pushing time code across the cellular. So we can. Oh, you're muted.
Damn, I keep doing that. What's the benefit of that? What? I mean, I can see where time code is good for editing, but how is it good for live?
But then you know where you are in the show. So then at a certain point in the show, at 8:03 and 39 seconds, we're going to come to you, Bobby. So he's got a clock in front of him. He could have a time code display. Time code, a single person in the field. It's more like a video village is in the field. So think of like the Olympics. There's a control room in Connecticut, and then there's a control room in LA. There's talent in LA. There's talent in Sochi. How you got to have some sort of time reference, keeping everything gen locked and on time and on schedule. So customers have asked for that. It's not uncommon that we are moving produced content, not just contribution, but distribution content. So if you remove the SCUDdy, the commercial insertion telemetry, what is that, ST304 is the SCUDdy, the commercial insertion. So other ancillary data, we're getting better at passing that telemetry for things like this. So to answer your question, Paul, you're not riding that iris, or be very, very careful. Make very subtle adjustments. That was kind of your question there. I'm reading through it.
It was, now. Yeah, and actually, I kind of asked a whole hodgepodge of other questions. I got really excited about the idea of basically, not the idea, but sort of what capacity existed in live sports to control the cameras by a remote link. And you sort of addressed part of the question. Well, you've addressed the question, and I'll just I'm going to mention a question I asked, and then I'm going to ask a new question, which is what I'm sort of hearing is if it's a static shot that might need to get shaded, if it's brighter in the morning than at night or in the afternoon, then it's the tool. But if there's any, often a discriminant is, does the camera have an operator? If there's a live operator, you'll never be able to follow the iris. And that seems to me like that's still the rule, right? So
yeah.
So okay, so now let me fast forward. I'll ask one more question. I know Paul and others have questions, but so in regard to what I'm all excited about here, what uses were made of this sort of remote control in the Paris Olympics? Because a lot of stuff got produced in Connecticut. A lot of work got done in Connecticut for stuff that was, 3,000, 4,000 miles away. And that would be if latency weren't an issue, or actually latency, of course, would be an issue. But the question is, given that issue, what sort of stuff could be done by
Well,
remote?
something like the Paris Olympics, they're going to have low latency, SLA backed connections, and it's not unreasonable that they could have 20 millisecond. But a cellular connection when it's firing on all cylinders, round trip latency varies between 40 and 60 milliseconds. The fact that we need so much latency is that's those spikes. We'll see it in the dashboard. It'll spike to 3,000 milliseconds. Like, bam! All of a sudden, like, whoa. So we work with the On Patrol live cop show. It used to be called Live PD. Now it's called On Patrol Live. They run everything in 4 seconds because they're not throwing to any talent. Once in a while, they'll throw to a line producer. They'll hand him or her a mic. They'll get on camera, but so they're on comms and they said 3, 2, 1, start talking. They'll count them in over comms, and the latency on the comms is pretty low. But then when he or she starts talking, they say, start talking. Come on, Becky, talk. Well, wait seconds because it's going to take 3 seconds for the video to reach to reach the studio. But I don't have specifics, but I'm certain that shading was done remotely for the Olympics in Paris because they had low latency circuits. Now, if they had some ancillary things on Live View, TVU, High Vision did you remember the opening ceremony? The players were all on boats going down the river.
Yeah.
They shot all that on cell phones. They shot that on Samsung phones using the High Vision Mojo Pro app, which allows you to bond the internal modem with external Wi-Fi. So I could have they don't have Verizon in Paris, but Orange Cellular and some other brand of cellular Wi-Fi, bond those two together. And I believe there was shading done. There are shading hooks in the app that Cyan View Gear took control of.
But in that case, though, probably
yeah,
the person that was shading the camera, though, was probably in Paris, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know those particulars, but I could find out for you. Cyan View website, look under their news section. I'm sure there's a whole section about Sochi and whatnot. I saw you also asked about Ikegami cameras. Let me go to. Do you have a workflow specifically for?
Yeah, that actually wasn't I. So I'll
was me.
stop
Was
dominating,
me.
and I'll let the mighty Paul Beck take over on that.
No,
Hi,
no,
Paul.
mighty. I was just surprised that it wasn't any of the photos you showed. You mentioned Ikegami, but I didn't see anything in the pictures.
Yeah, there might have been slides there that I passed over. So I just went to Cyan View, support.cyanview.com, typed in Ikegami, and here are the compatible cameras. And it's like, here's a little table. So white, black, master, gamma, knee, and detail we can control, exposure. We can change the scene file, and then we can control these other auto iris, auto white. I don't see mention of, does this camera have a built-in tally? Maybe it doesn't. I don't see tally mentioned here. But you see here, you use this serial cable. It's an Ikegami cable. If there's a part number of the cable, RCP, CIO. See, look, you click here.
You've answered the question, Jim. That's fine.
So here's the cable. So look, I'm just showing you how great their website is. So in that little app note, I jumped right to the cable. This is the cable you need to order. And of course, Vidovation sells all this. We're their U.S. distributor.
I'm not
So
seeing it
right here,
anywhere.
you see the CIO. Oh, I'm not sharing. Did I turn it off? Do you see my screen?
I see you.
Oh, yeah. So I went to. So you see here, I just punched in Ikegami.
Yep.
Here's the model numbers supported. Here are
Looking
the
good.
hooks. And then boom, I want to see what cable I need. Jumps to the cable. It's very, very good. So what other questions you guys have?
One comment I'd like to make is this is a while back, but we had, I think it was NBC Sports, and they touched on some of these things about sending their signals back to, I think it was New York, where they actually did the switching. And I'm sure they were using very, very low latency, could have been, undersea fiber, or it was probably very low latency. Of course, they retime the signals to all match when it gets back. But I'm not sure how the communication was handled to the because there's really two ways to do that, and I've done a method where we put the switcher on site with the cameras. We send back a multi-view, and then the cameras are actually switched on site, and then just the one final program, clean program feed is sent back, and then that's what goes out. And I've even done that within a town where they have things in different parts of the town, and but they don't have operators. Say they have 6 cameras over here and 3 cameras over there. They don't want to switch it on site, so it's switched back at one place in the town, and all they get is they get the multi-view coming back from the different. So all the venues come back. A lot of people are doing that now with NDI. Um, but the technique is you have the switcher on site with the cameras, that feeds back in a multi-view form to the switching location, the master switching location. And then the program feeds, if it all end up with one switcher, and then they go out to wherever it has to go. Sometimes that's fiber to, cable Comcast or something. Um, so that's one way. But I think a lot of the networks are actually sending back all the cameras that they're using, say, to New York or wherever they're switching it. And but that way they don't have to have people, actually switching on site.
Yeah, both scenarios you mentioned, Marty, are done. Let me, I got a deck here. Here, let me just show you this real quick. Let me share. It really depends. If you want to have a TD and a director on site switching and then save on your cellular gear, send send the program feed from the venue. If you have 8 cameras, you do 8 bonded cellular, 8 ISOs go back to master control. High Vision is particularly good at keeping multiple videos in sync with each other. Really, they're able to do almost like precision timing protocol PTP over an unmanaged network. No one can touch the capabilities of a High Vision when it comes to that in particular. So you can switch remotely. So yeah, this was the slide I was looking for here. Let me share this. So let's see. So you see here, you like what Marty was saying. In this slide, you're bringing all 3 cameras home. You're switching here. Here you're switching, adding graphics locally, and then bringing the single feed back. So you need less transport gear, but you need operators to run the switcher. Or you could be calling The production switcher could physically be on site with people operating it remotely. That's certainly possible. So you see here people controlling the cameras, the iris or the PTZ, everything's coming home. Really, the sky's the limit of what you want to do. Certainly, Marty, both those scenarios, switching on-prem, switching back at a master control or at a central location, the technology supports either. The PGA is home running all the cameras back to St. Augusta, back to their master control, and switching in the studio. The bigger tournaments, though, so these are more the Corn Ferries, the AAA, the G School, the AAA of golf. Masters tournaments, I still think they bring a production truck. They can't afford to miss a shot. They can't. But the Golf Channel needs golf content 24/7. So some of these lesser tournaments would never make it onto live air. This is a good slide. It kind of shows you Ethernet connection to the camera for control going through the data bridge. SDI, the video coming through on this path. Then this kind of shows you the IP port of the access point out in the field gets routed to the IP port or the VLAN in the studio, or sometimes we can even put them on the same VLAN. So assets in the studio and in the field are on the same VLAN. Let's see here. You just got to be careful. We can route the traffic as needed. One thing to be cognizant of, the people are like, well, the data path seemed to be faster. Video has the top priority. They keep about a couple of hundred kilobits per second for camera control. I'll have a client want to squeeze video through here. Yeah, theoretically you could do that, but why would you want to do that? Bonded cellular is meant to move video. This is for control and telemetry. So you can see here that this is like the. I think I have some PGA slides. Let's see. I don't know if I have it in this deck. But the unit mounts on the camera between the battery and the camera. The cyan view, you Velcro it to get the camera control through. This guy here on the lower right, he was shading locally. This was in 2016 on election night. They were in Times Square interviewing folks. The cyan view was not used in that, back then, but could have helped. One less thing for the camera operator to have to worry about. Any other questions, guys? I think you're muted.
I think we've come to the end of a long but very interesting road. And I can't thank you enough for making our June meeting possible. And I look forward to having you back. And I would say if you guys have any more questions, they should send them to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just go to vidovation.com, VIDOVATION. Let me, where's my closing slide here? Let's get this on in the recording. Here we go. Here's my contact info. You can call 949-777-5435. Jim J at vidovation.com is my email. JIMJ@vidovation. People want to say Videovation. And Marty, you're a good friend. You pronounce Jaquetta flawlessly. I get Geppetto, I get Jaquita. And Vidovation has no E. People say, I remember I did a talk at NAB. I'd like to introduce my good friend Jim Jaquetta from Videovation. I'm like, it's Jaquetta and it's Vidovation, not Videovation.
Yeah.
But thank you, Marty.
I had an experience with one guest one time. Just angled his name.
Couldn't get it right.
Jim, thank you very much. This has been very helpful for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, and send me the recording. I'll what I do is I will have the recording transcribed. I'll build a whole blog post around it, and I'll send you guys a link when it's done. And of course, anywhere that I post it, I will give kudos to SEMPTE and SEMPTE New England. And that meeting Marty spoke of probably back in 2017, where I came to Boston. To this day, I remember the pizza. And people saying that New York is the only place that has good pizza.
Well,
I remember being blown. Do you remember the place? What was I was blown away.
It was in Brighton.
yeah. I think
right near WBZ.
Oh, it's BZ.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
We were in a conference room at the station, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we did GBH. I have pictures of that. But it could have been BZ also that we did. It could have been WCB also, Channel 5.
There's probably a blog post somewhere in there. I will do a lot for free food, particularly good food.
We all will.
Well, you haven't lived until you've had Paul Beck's chowder. New England.
Holy chowder. And there's no red stuff in it. I'm from New York, and I prefer
New England.
Yeah, New England chowder.
Oh.
New York chowder is not. Manhattan clam chowder doesn't work.
Clam chowder, they call that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get this recorded and
All
get
right,
to
gentlemen,
you within a week.
Lady, thank you so much for attending. And look for your email. Next meeting will be likely in September sometime. In the meantime, we'll be working on putting more meetings together. So again, I thank you for participating. We do it for the participants. And if we don't get the participants, then we're doing it for nothing. So please spread the word that we have very good meetings, and let's get the numbers up. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks for having me.